What's up, everybody? Jason here again with Vendors, where we aim to educate through informal one-on-one conversations with the leading wedding professionals. This week, we sit down with Jeff and Cathy from UnPosed Photography from Galena, Illinois. Join us as we discuss the questions couples just like you have about their wedding planning. Come on, let's get started. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I am sitting here with Jeff and Cathy from UnPosed Photography from Galena, Illinois. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me today.
Thank you for having us.
We're happy to be here.
Oh my God, this is exciting. So, guys, why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
So I'm Cathy.
I'm Jeff.
And we are photographers, owners of UnPosed Photography in Galena, Illinois. I've been photographing weddings for about 15 years. And Jeff's been with me for
8 or 9, somewhere in there?
Somewhere in there. I don't know. You can't do math. A while.
What are some things couples should look for when they're looking for photographers?
Photography is comparing apples and oranges, which makes it really difficult because what we do is very different than someone else. But just figuring out a style you like, whether you like, something that's very in the moment of, super desaturated colors, or if you love the photojournalistic look where nothing is posed and it just feels like someone's just kind of a fly on the wall, or do you like something more classic and more, some things are posed, some things aren't, kind of a good mix. But figuring out what style you like will help then determine who you work with.
Obviously, you're gonna see that one image from that one wedding and go like, oh, I want that to be like that. But should they talk to the photographer and say, I wanna see the entire day of this wedding?
Yes and no. Like, there's moments where as a photographer, we've gotten asked that, like, can I get a whole wedding gallery? And I'm like, do I really want to send you a full wedding gallery? But I think that's almost more from the wanting to protect my couples and like what's happening when their images go out.
Okay.
More than not wanting to show you a whole wedding gallery.
Yeah.
Where when someone comes in the studio and wants to look through an album is the entire wedding day.
Right. That's like.
So it's much easier because I'm not sending them something digital.
But we try to blog every wedding. And I try to blog like the entire day, like not every photo, obviously, but something from every part of the day so that if you were to look there, you could see, okay, so they're getting ready photos generally all look the same no matter what the location is. Their reception photos generally all look the same no matter what the location is, which means we know what we're doing and we know what our style is and we know how to recreate it in any situation. Whereas if you just look at one wedding, what if that album I'm showing you is the absolute best, most amazing wedding that I've ever shot? And you don't ever see anything else that I do, and then it gets to your wedding, which is a 100% different scenario, and I don't know how to deal with that. But if you look at multiple venues, multiple different times of the year, you'll see that any decent photographer, their work is the same. Like, not that their poses are the same, not that the couple looks the same. The quality of their work is the same.
Same as when you look at our website, every photo is of a wedding couple, one of our wedding couples.
Right, it's not models.
Yeah, we haven't hired models, we haven't had conferences where someone else posed them and took a photo. Every photo is ours. I can recreate it any day of the week.
Because there's a lot of photo conferences, and because of that, these photographers will go to these conferences, and the people who are running them will set up the pose and set up the lighting, and then you just walk up and you take the photo. That doesn't mean you know how to recreate that shot in a real
That's not your
scenario.
photo. Yeah, we'll see.
It's definitely a thing that I see a lot of. I'll go on websites and be like, I've seen that couple in that location in a completely different photographer's website. And you'll go compare them and be like, they were just at the same educational event.
Like, your photographer's personality is almost more important than the photos they take.
That's true.
Because if you don't get along with your photographer, it's going to show in your photos. It's going to look like you don't really like that person. Because to photograph someone is to almost become a little emotionally involved and get in their bubble, and you have to really get along. Otherwise, if someone puts their guard up with you, then all their photos just look like they're shielding you away and it looks distant and then no one feels connected. And
the other thing I would add to that is being aware of trends. So your wedding photography, hopefully, is one of the things that's going to stand the test of time, right? So like right now, it's super popular to hire photographers that have really washed out images. okay, 20 years from now, do you want someone to look at your wedding album and be like, what happened to all the color? Like your faces look ashy. Or it's the other extreme where they're super duper dark, like really dark. And like, I mean, that looks grungy and icky, and is that really what you want?
If it's what you love,
if
great.
it is what you love, please do that. If this resonates with you and this really speaks to you, then please hire somebody who does that. But if you're just kind of like, oh, well, my friend had that and I think it's kind of cool right now, make sure that you're thinking of what you're going to have down the road.
Yes.
Like, what is it going to be like 20 years from now?
It's super smart to say, okay, I love this style now. I always look at it as a tattoo.
Yeah.
Like, this art style is really cool. Do I want that 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Is it forever?
Is it forever?
Right. That's a really good way to look at it. That's true.
The other thing is that you have to figure out what your photographer's giving you in the end. Are they just photographers going to take photos, give you a disc, and never talk to you again? Are they a full service studio where they can help you with albums, canvases, you know, because each one has its different pros and cons. You'll pay more for a full service studio, but then you get more of a hand holding, you get more of the products at the end, or if you just want to do everything on Shutterfly, then you get the digitals and you go on your own. At the same point, if it's 5 years down the road and you haven't taken time to make your own wedding album, it's not always the best.
Oh, you bring up a good question, is what are some things couples should be asking their photographers?
Do you shoot with backup equipment? Can your equipment get wet if it rains?
Okay, but that actually is important because we had that one videographer who couldn't do video in the rain.
Yep.
We could photograph in the rain, but he couldn't video in the rain,
He
and
has-
it was a rainy
he has
wedding
a jacket
day.
and umbrella over his camera, and I'm out there with my camera just getting it soaked because it can, because we pay the money to have good gear.
Can you photograph in any given situation, weather-wise? Because you don't know what's going to happen on a wedding day.
Do you have a second shooter? Is it someone you just hire in? Or even stepping outside of that, there are so many photography companies who you have no idea who's going to show up and shoot your wedding day. You book the company.
So true, yeah.
And so you see this online portfolio, that's 20 different photographers' work.
yeah. And
Who
you
are
don't know
gonna
who
get?
you're going to get.
I don't know. Somebody shows up at your wedding, they're like, hi, I'm Bob. I'm gonna take pictures today. I've never met you. Are you the bride? Wait, no. Oh, she's the bride. Okay. It's like they might do an amazing job. But do you have that confidence that they're gonna show up on the day of, that you know them, that you know they're gonna do the same job? That's why we include engagement photos with all of our shoots.
Yeah.
Because we wanna make sure you're comfortable in front of the camera before your wedding day. Let's get all the awkward hands. Let's figure out how you interact together, because some people are super lovey. Some people, it takes some coaching to get that emotion out. I can't show up on your wedding day and expect that 100% of the time get the emotion out if I've never talked to you before.
So you would suggest not only a couple get an engagement session to get comfortable in front of the camera, but a couple to get an engagement with their photographer that they plan for that day.
Absolutely.
1,000,000,000% yes. Yeah. We actually have had couples that'll ask us, like, can I save money if I don't do my engagement session with you? And I'm like, no, I'm going to charge you more if you don't do that, because it will be so much harder to work with you on your wedding day, having never worked with you before. I have no idea what your dynamic is. I don't know how you're going to respond to the things I say. Like, do you actually think I'm funny? Because I'm freaking hilarious, but do you actually understand that I'm funny? Another thing to ask your wedding photographer is how long they've been doing it, like legitimately, how long have you been?
Not how many years the studio has been shooting.
If it's somebody who's really, really new to the industry, they probably haven't seen as much yet.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I still shot great photos back then. I mean, I'm a lot better now, but like, I still shot decent, I still shot really good photos in the beginning. But you're learning all those on the spot, how do I deal with this scenario in the moment of that wedding.
When we had tornado for a wedding, and we had
And
legit
it knocked out power.
no power the
for an
entire day.
city. Yeah.
So like everything was cell phones lighting the reception and candles. Like, can you, is your photographer gonna be comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well, we are, because we pack extra gear that will never come out of wedding day
Unless something happens.
shit really hits a fan. It is the backup of the backup that's just in the car for when things go really bad. And not necessarily like something we did wrong, just other things happen.
Life situations. I mean, a wedding happens on that day, no matter what is happening on that day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, hurricane comes through, probably still having a wedding.
Still getting married.
Still getting married. If you have a vendor who has been doing it for a long time, who's been in weddings and seen a lot of things like we have, like you have somebody who can say, yeah, okay, this is fine. It's not that big of a deal.
It's also things like understanding in a wedding day how to talk through the little things that no one will ever tell you. Like, how do you walk in a wedding dress to make sure that it doesn't get muddy? Because most of our couples do first looks. It makes the day so much less stressful.
Yeah.
but it means that you're out in the elements before your wedding. It's like, well, you can change how you walk to make sure it stays clean.
Yeah.
Or like reminding girls how you should pee in your dress, which sounds ridiculous, but there is a way.
It's absolutely.
It's an important thing.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's things you can do that, especially on a wedding day, when we tell brides, grooms, wedding party, any of the people that are involved, these little things like, hey, just do this quick. And they're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. It's like, that's why we're here.
So how early should a client be booking a photographer?
My suggestion is at least 12 to 18 months in advance.
Why?
A good photographer gets booked that early. Guess is all I'm saying. You're gonna miss out on the decent ones if you wait any longer. The other part of it is time to get to know each other, to develop that rapport, but especially for things, you've got an engagement session, you're gonna send out save the dates. Do you wanna use the photos on your save the dates? Then you need to make sure that your engagement session happens before you're gonna do save the dates. And there's just a lot of pieces that go into it.
So most of the time we're booked second after the venue.
Yeah.
Like you get your venue, they hire us, and then we help them figure out what flowers are going to work for them. Unlike most other vendors, we get to know our couples so well.
Yeah.
As we're talking to them, it's like, you know what? Sounds like you're not going to love a DJ. Would you like a band? Well, here's some ones we've worked with. Here's ones that are like giant personality. If you've got a big personality, you hire the DJ or the band that's got that same personality. But those are things that it's a little hard for brides and grooms to do on their own, where as we get to know them, we can make those suggestions because of how well we know the couple and because of how well we know all the vendors we work with every single week.
And that's true for any photographer.
And help build that dream team. Yeah.
Like any good photographer who's been in the industry for a while will know other vendors that they can help you figure out. Yeah. So, and videographer.
We'll come back to that to another episode. What are some average price points or average price ranges for photography? And not just good photography, but photography in general. And then what do those price points mean?
I mean, you can spend anywhere from, $1,000 to $10,000. And some of the, especially the high end, may not be getting you any more photography wise and be maybe getting you more clout and brand wise because you used so-and-so.
But maybe you'll get like one dynamic image.
Right, you might get one dynamic image, but a lot of times in the middle is where you're going to find your best, not best deals, but your best value of, people are going to work for you who your wedding day is important to them, that aren't just up there because they're a big name, that they're actually going to do fantastic work for you and make sure that your wedding day is great. Someone who's only charging $1,000 probably can't devote that much time to you. Not that it's a bad thing. If that's your budget, that's fine. If you want more and if you want someone to help you with the timeline like we do, if you want someone to help you with all these things, chances are they're going to have to devote a fair number of hours to your wedding.
So I will say like an average, so like somebody with decent experience who's going to give you good quality photos and probably a decent product at the end of it, you're talking like $3,500 to $5,500 range would be realistic.
Now, granted, that also depends on location and market. Now, and there's always a chance of finding that diamond in the rough.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of being like the person fresh out of school, wants to make a name for themselves, wants to try it.
Who's actually really amazing.
And it's possible.
Yep.
But it's like the lotto.
Yes.
It's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
What does a photographer bring to a wedding day?
Calm and composure.
Hopefully.
I mean, honestly, your photographer is going to be a person who's closest to you all day. So like for us, that means that we are helping with the timeline. We are keeping everybody on schedule. We know exactly what time we need to be where, how long it takes to get there. It also means that we're kind of the peacekeepers.
Grandma and grandpa are divorced and they can't be in the same room at the same time.
So there's one starts the photos and then she's out and there's a little break so when he comes in, they don't see each other. Right. And it's a lot of like trying to think of more than just what's going on. So
random tips and tricks for brides and grooms and couples planning weddings. Tell your photographers those weird family and relationship dynamics because we can help navigate those. We're completely outside people. No one has an opinion about us.
Yeah, right.
So if I walk up to somebody who drives you bonkers and I just say like, oh my gosh, you know what would be really awesome right now is if you went and did anything else and give them some kind of task.
Or if you want an unplugged ceremony, but you know your one uncle is going to bring that camera, I will be more than happy to walk up and be like, you know what? It's in my contract that you can't shoot. No, it's not that way, but I can blame it on me.
Yeah.
And then the couple doesn't then Uncle Bob isn't mad at them for saying he can't bring his camera and it diffuses the situation without bringing it back to the bride and groom.
Right. As a real quick note before we go on, but a lot of people think direct sunlight looks amazing because they have the phones, they're getting pictures on their phones, which like auto corrects in the phone. But if you want good shots, do you want full sun?
No, you know that answer.
I know, they don't. Why don't you want full sun when you're taking photos?
Sunlight is super harsh.
Yeah.
It's really harsh on your face. It's really harsh on your eyes.
Everybody's
It's
squinty.
Nobody can see, so you're squinting in all of your photos. Harsh, I mean, that bright sun really kills your look. It's not always the most flattering. Whereas if you can get shade or clouds or light bouncing off of a building, then it just makes your whole face look so...
The term is open shade, where you want to be in shade but still see blue sky.
Right.
It's where you'll be the most sparkly looking skin.
Your eyes will sparkle.
Yeah, your eyes will pop, but everything's the right color and it's not super bright and it's easy to see. And
I find whenever I talk to brides and they're freaking out because it's like cloudy or just like hazy, I'm like, no. This is amazing.
I know.
You are gonna get amazing shots because it's diffused, light's gonna be even, you're gonna look the bomb.
Yeah, that's true. No one is lying to you when they are saying that. Like, it's really true. Clouds and haze and all of that.
it means we can shoot any direction we want. We're not limited by where the sun is.
Right.
Yep.
Same as like on a light, misty, rainy day, the colors pop so much more. Like people freak out about rain, but you know what? If it's just misty,
There's so much color and it's so romantic because you get that kind of fogginess behind. Oh, they're my favorite. It's super dreamy.
What are your responsibilities as photographers after a wedding day?
I mean, delivery of the images. So you're editing, you're doing all of the process to actually get the images into.
and keeping the emotion up. Like we don't take 6 months to deliver photos because by that point you don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like you also want to get your photos back in a timely manner so that when you're looking at them, you're not like, yeah, we're already pregnant and
I was just gonna say, like,
everything's going, because it's remembering this fantastic day that goes by so fast.
yeah.
Also, one of our jobs on the wedding day is to slow everything down and have that moment of, while we're getting everyone to run all over the place, stop,
Take a breath.
take a breath, look at your guests. And so we'll try and build in those little moments for bride and groom, just like, hey, let's go outside and take a picture. We're not actually taking a picture, but we're giving you a moment just to like be a couple. Okay, now we can go back to reception and everyone's gonna like hug on you, and but try and building in that time too.
I would also say afterwards, delivery of actual products too. So for our couples, that means talking through what it is that they want. Since we do mostly digital, but then we encourage the printed products, we'll talk through what that actually is and what they want and all that stuff, and making sure that that also is excellent.
So you mentioned editing.
Yeah.
What do you mean editing? Doesn't the photo just come out perfect in camera every time?
Absolutely.
I think you had the best quote I've ever heard was, I taught my camera everything it knows.
I did teach my camera everything that it is. So that's
Everything's
the thing,
perfect
like,
in camera all the time.
Like, everything may not be perfect in camera all the time for part of it. Like, let's just be real. A decent photographer ought to know how to make a pretty great image in camera. But, I mean, even just the way that cameras take images, most people don't have the equipment to read a RAW file.
Right,
Which
right.
is what I'm taking
And
photos
a
in.
raw file is colorless, contrastless, the most ugly thing ever.
Right.
It's how we edit it that makes it pretty.
Yeah.
Like every photo comes in just kind of bleh.
I'm really proud of what I do because what I do lasts for so much longer. It's so much more important than just taking some pretty pictures on a wedding day. Like, I tell our couples all the time, your wedding day is probably the only day in your life that the people who care the most about both of you are all in the same space. It won't happen again. You have a baby, like, sure, friends come and visit, whatever, but nobody is all in the same space together at the same time. And the magical moments that happen are the things that you want photos of.
When a bride posts a picture of her grandpa who's passed away, and it's always our photo from their wedding, that's the picture they post of him.
It's things like that still give me chills. And doing it for a while, those are the things that have started happening more. And you start realizing, like, what I do really, really matters in people's lives long term. And that's, I think, I know that's why I love it so much.
As wedding professionals, things don't go on schedule. They don't go on time. So how do photographers and how do you fix the fuck up when it happens?
I think it's constantly being 10 steps ahead, if that makes sense. When something goes down, because it will, you already have thought of what that might be. You can usually spot when an issue is going to happen before it happens.
But it's keeping emergency goldfish in the car, so when the bride didn't eat that morning because she was nervous, and then
And
gets
her
the
blood sugar crashes.
Gets the first look, and she's having a great time, but now she hasn't eaten, and
She looks pale and she's about to faint.
like, no, here's emergency goldfish, eat a couple of these, okay? Here's some water, okay, let's get back and we're going. It's constantly trying to think of taking care of somebody that you've only met a handful of times,
Yeah.
trying to guess what they need. It's paying attention to the groomsman who's turning green in the back of the bus. It's like, why don't you guys all move away from him?
Okay.
When the one vase of flowers near the ceremony falls over and breaks because it was a crazy windy day. It's
The branch that lit on fire
the branch that lit on
that I had to just carry out of the reception.
Yep. On one of the reception tables, they had all sorts of greenery and a little bit caught on fire. And Cathy walks up, grabs the branch.
During the middle of speeches, because it legit was on fire.
That's fantastic.
Walks out of the room, hands it
Just
to the
walked out of
staff.
the room, walked up to the staff, and was like, this is on fire. They just took it, put it in water. But the bride literally talked about it in her review with us, because she's like, when Cathy can just really calmly walk up to a burning branch, take it off your table, and walk out of the room like nothing happened, you know you're okay. And I was like, that, and it's not just me. It's like any decent vendor who cares about you just looks at that and doesn't go, oh my God, there's a fire, and freak out.
You just take care of it.
You just take care of it. Yep. Yeah.
Just,
so I guess that's it.
They can keep,
Yep. You can keep
take
enjoying
care of
your
the
day.
issue so they can keep
So they
enjoying
can keep
their
enjoying
day.
their day.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
So not every photographer is the same. I understand that.
Absolutely.
Prices for vendors, and it's kind of eye-opening when a couple starts shopping and they have a budget in mind, and then they start looking for people, and they're like, this is way more than I expected.
Yeah.
So, but there's a reason
Yeah.
your prices are the way your prices are.
Right.
So as a photographer, where is that money going?
I mean, on any given wedding day, we've got $40,000 to $50,000 worth of or camera equipment around.
Yeah.
Because with the backups, the camera gear we are carrying that can be out in the rain, all of our lighting, like we carry lots of stuff. We have insurance because we're a legit business. We have insurance so that if someone gets hurt, like we cover our bases because I don't want, like we're not
taxes you have to pay.
Yeah.
You know.
Like we're not trying to be shady. We're a legit business and we have to cover our bills, and we invest a boatload of time into couples.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
I think
just-
a lot of it's the time, and then more than that, you're also like, we're all educated people. We all continue our own education throughout the year as well. So you're paying a bit for experience and for the fact that we're constantly making ourselves better all the time, not at a couple's expense. You know, I'm not learning at a wedding.
Right.
I'm learning on my own so that I can be better at your wedding.
When people think about us as vendors, they're thinking that we're only there for the wedding for like 10 hours. So all that money, that equals out to that money divided by 10,
hours, right.
which is
Absolutely unrealistic. For us, on average, for every hour that we are with you, photographing you, we have 2 hours,
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours of just the editing and
Like primary edits, retouching.
Yeah.
Not including face swaps because that one person in your family photos just couldn't look at the camera when we asked them to.
But that also doesn't include all the hours ahead of time that we're doing, making your timeline, answering your emails, answering your phone calls, answering your text messages, looking at your Pinterest board that you sent us with all of your
Charging all the
inspiration.
batteries.
Yeah.
Packing all the bags, making sure that we've double checked every route along the way so there isn't construction. So on the day of, we're not like, crap, we can't drive that way.
Right.
It's pre-planning our
Planning out
butts
your
off.
venue and-
Because the more you plan in the beginning, the more prepared you are for anything that does go wrong.
right.
So there you go. There's a whole lot of hours in it. It's not just the 10 hours of your wedding day.
As a couple, how can a couple save money but still get your service? We still want to work with you,
Yeah.
but we can't afford you. How can we make this work?
In your wedding, you should be paying for what matters most. So for the most part, for us, we don't have a lot of wiggle room because we don't do crazy packages. Like you're not going to book us for 4 hours on a wedding day. That's just not what we're going to do. That's not what we like to do for our couples. We're not going to be super hands off. We're not going to cut out the engagement photos because, you know, you want to shave money, but you can shave money in a wedding day by putting it what you care about. If you don't care about flowers, don't spend a bunch of money on flowers.
Yeah.
If you don't care about extravagant cake, get a bunch of desserts. Like there are ways to shave money on your wedding day and spend money wisely so that you can afford the things you want. If you want that awesome videographer, save up elsewhere. You don't have to have a $3,000 wedding dress. You know, unless that wedding dress is the most important part of your wedding day, then get the crazy wedding dress. Spend what matters to you and what's going to matter after the wedding. Because the cake gets eaten, the flowers all die. In the end, what you really have is photo and video to remember your day. Like, that's really what you have left.
But you still want the answer to that question, don't you?
Kinda.
Yeah, I figured. I was like, he's not answering your question. Other photographers offer physical products, so you could cut out some of the physical products, maybe. You know, every photographer is different. What they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do is a totally different thing. If they base their packages on hours, you might be able to just say, hey, can I pay you for 3 hours of my day or whatever, and then you'll get 3
or maybe
hours. Or
you don't get the second photographer, even though then there's only one person to cover all of your day and all the craziness and be in all
right,
the
you won't
places.
get as many pictures and you won't get as much variety, but you can
it is
still-
an option.
But it is an option.
If you can't
know?
afford the full
Right,
set,
that's what I was just
here's
gonna
what I
say.
can afford.
Yep.
Can we do it?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And some photographers can't, but there are other photographers who will. Here's some names of them because I know them and you can work with them and they're good too.
Jeff and Cathy, guys, thank you so much for sitting down with me today and being a guest on Vendors and educating couples who are amazing.
Anything
It's been
for
fun
you.
to be here. Yeah. anything for you.
So if a couple was interested in asking you questions or reaching out to you, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Our website's probably the best way. Contact us.
UnPosedphotography.com.
Yep.
And are you on Instagram or?
Heck yes, Instagram is my jam. Facebook's fine, but like Instagram at UnPosed Photogs. UnPosed_Photogs.
Good to know.
Yeah, or if you want to follow us personally because we're pretty awesome, then it's at We Are the West.
Otherwise, Facebook, it's UnPosed Photography.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Pretty easy.
Guys, seriously, thank you so much for being on the show. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this awesome show with your friends and families and other amazing couples out there. Our goal is to educate you through these amazing wedding industry professionals. So get the noise out there. Join us again next week for another episode. I look forward to talking with you. We hope this episode of Vendors helps you on your wedding planning. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and to share to make sure you and your fellow planning couples don't miss a single episode. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to check out our entire conversation in the podcast. And be sure to check out all of our episodes about these amazing wedding industry professionals. We'll see you next time on Vendors. Vendors is produced and edited by Night Owls Media. More information can be found at nightowlsmedia.com.